What happens when a real-life story about corruption, violence, and justice gets transformed into a fast-paced, early 2000s action movie? You get Walking Tall, a film where Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson plays a returning soldier who comes home only to find his town overrun with crime and decides to fix it himself. Not with a plan, not with a team, but with sheer force and a piece of wood.
This is my town. You're under arrest.
On the surface, it sounds like a simple action premise, maybe even a little forgettable. But when you look closer, Walking Tall becomes something more interesting. It's a remake of a gritty, real-world story. It's one of the first real tests of The Rock as a leading man, and it sits right at a turning point where wrestling charisma has to become actual screen presence. And the question is, did it work, or is Walking Tall just another early 2000s action movie that got lost in the shuffle? The story of Walking Tall doesn't start in 2004, it starts in 1973, with a very different kind of original film. The original Walking Tall was based on Buford, a real Tennessee sheriff who became known for taking out on organized crime in his county, often violently and often alone. That version of the story was messy, didn't shy away from brutality, didn't simplify the politics, and didn't try to make its character overly heroic. It felt closer to a crime biopic than an action movie. But when Hollywood revisits the story in the early 2000s, everything changes. The remake strips away most of the real-world complexity. Instead of a detailed, grounded narrative, we get a streamlined premise. Man returns home, finds corruption, fights back. The setting becomes more generic. The stakes become more immediate. The story becomes easier to follow, but also less nuanced. And then there's the casting choice. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. At this point, he's still in transition, coming off the Scorpion King. He has presence, he has physical credibility, but Hollywood isn't fully convinced yet. He's not The Rock, the global movie star, not yet. Walking Tall becomes one of those early proving grounds, a chance to show that he can carry a grounded, serious action film, not just a larger-than-life spectacle. Chris Bond returns home expecting something familiar. There's an assumption there that no matter how long you've been gone, home will still feel like home. And almost immediately, the movie breaks that assumption. The town is quiet, but not in a peaceful way. It feels hollow. The mill wants to center the local...
Did you get tired of being all that you could be?
No, I'm still all I can be.
Really? Yeah, I'll just have to see about that.
Yeah.
The economy is gone. In its place, something that represents a completely different kind of power. A casino.
Great. Be nice.
Come on, this place is nothing but fake boobs and real assholes, if you ask me. Just water.
Owned by Jay Hamilton, someone Chris grew up with. Someone who took a very different path. And that dynamic matters. Because this isn't just hero versus villain. It's two people from the same place who ended up on opposite sides of what that place became. As Chris reconnects with his old life, things start to unravel quickly. He goes to the casino, he sees how things operate, and when he tries to push back, even slightly, the response is immediate and brutal. The beating scene is a turning point. It's not stylized, it's not heroic, it's messy, one-sided, hard to watch, and it serves a purpose. It establishes that Chris is not in control. Not yet. From that moment forward, the story shifts from observation to retaliation. This is where Walking Tall becomes more interesting than it probably should be. Because The Rock at this stage is still trying to figure things out. You can see it in how he delivers lines. Sometimes it's natural, sometimes it's slightly stiff, but what works is everything around it. His physical presence is undeniable, but it's not invincible. He doesn't feel like a superhero. He feels like someone who can be overwhelmed. And that vulnerability adds weight to the story. There are moments where he hesitates, moments where his anger takes over before he has a plan, and moments where you get the sense that he's reacting more than he is leading. That's important because Chris Bond isn't portrayed as a strategist. He's not calculating, he's emotional. And The Rock leans into that physical, reactive style of acting. When he walks into a situation, you believe he might lose control of it, and sometimes he does. That unpredictability gives the movie tension, even if the script itself is straightforward. Walking Tall doesn't try to reinvent action. Instead, it strips it down. The fights are short, sudden, impact-driven. There's very little build-up. When violence happens, it happens quickly, and it feels abrupt. That's part of the film's identity. It doesn't glorify the fights as much as it presents them as consequences. And then there's the 2x4. It's almost absurd when you say it out loud. A wooden plank, becoming the defining weapon of the movie. but visually it works because it reinforces the idea that Chris isn't equipped with anything special. No high-tech gear, no elaborate strategy, just whatever he can grab in a moment. The 2x4 becomes symbolic of that approach. It's crude, it's direct, it's effective. And it fits the tone perfectly. This isn't about style, it's about force. For everything the movie does right, there are clear limitations. The most obvious is the runtime. At around 85 minutes, Walking Tall moves too fast for its own good. Key moments don't have time to develop. Chris's decision to run for sheriff feels almost immediate. There's no gradual build, no deep internal conflict. It just happens. And while that keeps the pacing tight, it comes at the cost of emotional depth. The villain suffers from this too. Jay Hamilton is present. He's threatening, but he's not fully explored. We don't see enough of how his operation works or how deeply rooted his influence is in the town, which makes the conflict feel smaller than it should. The town itself is also feel underdeveloped. We're told it's corrupt. We see glimpses of that corruption, but we don't fully feel its scale. Because of that, Chris's mission, while clear, never feels as complex as it could have been. Underneath the action, there's a quieter idea driving the story. The idea of returning to something that no longer exists. Chris isn't just fighting criminals. He's confronting the loss of what his hometown used to be. And there's something inherently frustrating about that. Because no matter what he does, he can't fully bring it back. That tension sits in the background of the film. There's also the question of how change happens. Chris starts outside the system, using force, acting alone, but eventually he steps into a position of authority, sheriff. It's a shift from chaos to structure, from reaction to responsibility. And while the film doesn't deeply analyze that transition, it's still there. A suggestion that real change might require more than just confrontation. Looking back, Walking Tall feels like a snapshot, a version of The Rock that doesn't exist anymore. Less polished, less controlled, more willing to look uncertain, to take hits both physically and emotionally. Modern Rock roles tend to be more calculated, more refined. But here, there's an edge, a sense that things could go wrong at any moment. And that unpredictability makes the performance stand out more now than it did at the time. Walking Tall is not a perfect film. It's not deeply complex. It doesn't fully explore its themes. And it rushes through moments that deserve more attention. But it does something important. It commits to its tone, to its simplicity, to its central idea. Because of that, it works. Not as a standout classic, but as a solid, effective piece of early 2000s action storytelling, and as an early chapter in The Rock's career. It's more important than it might seem. So, where do you land on Walking Tall? Underrated, overlooked, or exactly what it appears to be? Just a simple action movie from a different era. And how does it compare to what The Rock is doing today? Let me know in the comments. So with that, I'm going to rate Walking Tall. It's going to be, I'll say 3 out of 5 stars. Not too bad, not great, but yeah, 3 out of 5. And with that, if you want to support the channel, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/cinemagold. And as always, thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time. Peace.